that's another thing I recommend. Anyone that's starting a business, don't count on anybody but yourself.
Yeah.
If you can put yourself into say, I will not let this fail, I will make it succeed, it's gonna happen. But if you're like, well, we'll see how it goes. If I fail, I fail. Then you're already in your mind thinking it's not gonna work. In my head, I'm like, no, 2 weeks will go to paying what I need to. If that comes push to shove and last resort, I don't want that to happen. But if that happens, I can still stay afloat. Ready when you're ready.
Cool. All right, welcome to Made in Burleson. I am Matt Davis, and I am sitting with my friend and barber, Ben Gamboa. Ben, thanks so much for coming.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about like who you representing and
Well, my name is Ben Gamboa, owner of Founders Barbershop, family-owned business. This January, 6 years in business. Got 2 locations, one in Burleson and one in Fort Worth. Burleson's the longest one. That one was established in 2018, at the very end of 2018. But technically, it's 2018. So we established that location when I lived in Burleson. And so, yeah, now a year and a half later, opened Fort Worth. So that one's going on 4 years, which would be in 2 weeks. No, Fort Worth turns 4 years.
That's awesome.
So 4 and 6 years. It's kind of weird because they're both kind of in the same dates as my kids' age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I opened Burleson, my son was, what am I guessing, 5 months?
Yeah.
It's 5 or 6 months old. And then opened Fort Worth first, and then 3 or 4 months later, Jessie was born. My second child daughter was born. She was a COVID baby. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Oh,
So
the
there's
COVID.
kind of perspectively. I mean, my daughter's 3.5, so Fort Worth turning into 4 years. My son's already 6, and so yeah. So that's just how I kind of keep it with the. I can keep it up with the ages, and I can keep up with the years of the shop.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool. And so, I mean, obviously you're a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting to be with them at 4 and 6, like that's a good age.
Yeah. Good and sometimes bad. A little, you got kids yourself, so.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes breaking up fights, sometimes breaking up, attitudes, and they're doing this to me. He said that, she said that, but other than that, I love it. They're great. And
that doesn't go away when they get older. Sorry, that's
got forewarned. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so 4 and 6. You've been around. Obviously, like you're a barber shop. What all does that entail? Like, what do y'all do?
So we're just a traditional classic barbershop. Means we do men's groom service, from shaves, haircuts to fades. Typically what you got is like a skin fade, which goes down high and tight. And we do beards, beard sculpting, hot towel services, pretty much anything a man will want to get done to get cleaned up for his appearance, whether it's a job interview or whether it's a wedding or whatever, or just a haircut. So, when I moved to Burleson about, it's going to be, about 6 years ago, I used to work in the shop in Fort Worth, and I would get a lot of clientele from Burleson travel to Fort Worth to look for a decent barbershop.
Yeah.
And they would say, man, well, one day you should open one. And I was like, Burleson, never. Oh, nah, Burleson's too small. They won't bring me no business. Once I moved to Burleson and I was in the area, and one day I remember I was driving around, I went to go pick up Chick-fil-A or something, and just driving around, and I just saw, like, man, this could be an opportunity here. Like, you're right, there's nothing. There's franchise places, but there's no, like, authentic mom and pop or just, smaller just barbershop. There's bigger corporates, there's name this, name that, people know those, but they're not really guaranteed a good cut. I said, this town needs a really good barbershop. And so I told my wife, and she liked the idea, and she's like, I'm all for it if you're for it. And so, yeah, I just found that spot right there off of McAllister Road.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's vacant, it's available, it was a good price, and everything worked out. And so pulled the trigger and decided, well, that's what we'll be. I like the location. I like those kind of on the service roads / side roads of the freeway, so it's easy accessible. I wanted Old Town, but Old Town, at the time didn't have nothing available, and then parking kind of sucks in Old Town, so I was just like, I'll take this one, and it was way cheaper rent than Old Town, and even back then it was still more expensive. But yeah, so long story short, that's how Founders was kind of established from when me living in Burleson.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah,
definitely. And so obviously you didn't just jump in like, hey, I'm gonna start cutting hair.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you're a certified barber.
Yeah.
But I mean, kind of take me back. Like, why did you want to do this? Why was this a dream of yours? Like,
take you back to the story I told you yesterday, or take you back to like just me starting it.
Well, yeah, your dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice. Okay, so I mean, I've always cut hair since I was a young age. I was cutting hair since I was in I guess middle school and freshman year. I started cutting hair. My brothers would never let me practice a legit fade on them. It was always like a real high guard, like a 4, 5, 6. So if I messed up, they wouldn't notice. My oldest brother is the one that let me be. He was a guinea pig. So, but just kind of a little foreshadowing. Before that, I had a babysitter that my mom would leave us with, and she was a stylist / barber, and she would cut our hair. And I remember being really interested how she would do it, and I'd like, man, this is cool. She knows how to cut hair, and I'd ask her questions and stuff like that. She's like, yeah, you could do it too one day. When you get older, tell your mom to buy you some clippers from Walmart. They don't have to be expensive. And I did tell my mom one day, hey, buy me some clippers. And she did. She bought me some cheap, Walmart brand that sounded real loud, and they would yank hair occasionally. But those were my just beginning clippers, and so I started doing that. Before I knew it, I was doing all my brothers, which I have 2 older brothers, and my dad's hair. And then from there, I would do it in school. I wouldn't do it literally in school, but I would tell the kids from school, hey, I know how to cut hair. And like, really? Come here before school. Come here after school. I'm like, all right, I'll bring my clippers to your house. I'd do it in the garage or the bathroom or wherever they wanted to do it. And I was not very good, and I thought I was good. I know how to do it. And again, this is before YouTube, before any TikTok, any kind of social media. So I just kind of knew off experience of my brothers and their hair, and then experience off my babysitter who would cut my hair and tell me what she was doing. Yeah. So that was the only experience I had. And I loved it. I loved it from there, but I never thought of it as a career, though. I always thought it was just a side hobby, just a little thing, like I know how to cut hair. I guess if someone also knows how to, do a different profession, whether it's a painter or someone that does sculpting, something like that. And I just thought, well, that's cool to know that on the side, but I don't think I'll ever do that full-time professionally.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's how I started. But before that, I went to the medical field. When I graduated high school, I wasn't thinking barbering, because even in high school they had a cosmetology program. I went to Crowley High School. Graduated class of 2007, if anyone knows that. Yeah, 2007, and I remember the cosmetologist teacher telling me, like, I need some male students, come on. And I'm like, I was at the time in sports and other activities. I'm like, I don't want to, I already know how to cut hair. And she's like, well, you can get your license, like your cosmetology license, and then when you get your barber license, it's only like, 300 or 400 hours crossover. I think it's 300 hours now crossover. And then I was just like, is there any other guys in there? Is it just all women? And she's like, it's just only women. And then at that time, I was just like, man, I don't know. I don't think I would like it. Like, I don't think I want to pursue that career. So I was like, nah, I'm good. To this day, I regret that. But went to that direction. And then after high school, I wanted to do something hands-on. I knew I liked using my hands to work. I wanted to do something where I could literally grab something and make something happen. So my brother at the time, my oldest brother, who was my guinea pig, let me go to apply and interview at his job. Was called Baker Orthotics and Prosthetics. So he was in the finance / billing department, and he said, hey, they're looking for a technician. I'm like, what's a technician? He's like, they're the guys that make the devices, prostheses, orthotics, braces. They name all this stuff. Then I was like, I have no idea how to make it. You have to go to school. You have to be licensed. He goes, no, the boss said he'll take, if you're willing to work and you have good hand skills, trainable. And I was like, man, I'll take it. I'll apply. And I got, interview, and I got my application through and got my resume through, and they said, yeah, you're a good candidate. We like you, and you'll be a good fit. And so I did that for almost 9 years. And then throughout that career, I also got my license to see in-house patients at the facility and also some hospitals. I was an orthotic and prosthetic assistant. So I got kind of into that program. But yeah, my boss sold to an investor group, and then it changed. Definitely wasn't having fun no more because I really love what I did with my hands. I really love helping people. I love making someone walk again, make them feel confident again, make them feel great. And so once an investor group came along, bought it, it became a numbers game. I'm like, I'm not having fun. This ain't fun for me. And that's when my wife said, well, what about career change? I'm like, I don't know. What do I do? I don't know what else to do. I mean, I go somewhere else in the medical field. I go somewhere else in a different department, or I go a different company. Like, but they're all the same now. They're all getting bought out by these big companies. These mom and pops shops are getting, extinct. Yeah. So she's like, you like cutting hair? I was like, yeah, you're right. She's like, you won't know, try it. If you don't know if you're not gonna like it until you try it out. So I said, let me give it a shot. So that was in 2016. Yeah. She was working full time. She already had finished college. She was at TCU. I was still working full time, and I was like, okay, I'll do it part time. Let's see how this goes. And went to this old school in Fort Worth called Williams Barber College. It's been around since the 50s. And you walk in there, you walk back into time. You like, it's literally, barber chairs from the 50s. It's a 1930s there. They still have strop. And I went there and I checked it out. Like, man, I went back to the past, and I liked it a lot. And I'm like, this was cool. I think I would like this. And my wife's like, well, all right, did you enroll? I'm like, yeah, I got some information and got the price and all that stuff and got my enrollment date. And I told them I'm doing part-time. And then along the journey of doing part-time, I was just like, man, I'm barely getting hours, because anytime you step in that door, your hours count. Outside of that facility, your hours don't count. Okay. So
got to be there.
Got to be there and accruing your hours to get your license. It's 1,500 hours to be a licensed barber. They reduced it now, I think last year, to 1,000. So now it's 1,000 hours, but at that time it's 1,500 hours. Under that roof, you got your hours. So you'd go in, you sign in, and you'd wait for walk-ins, and we'd have in the evenings they'd have a evening class where they would do book work or like theory work about regulation, sanitation, procedures, all that stuff. And then so yeah, it's just like, man, I'm barely getting hours. Like, this is gonna take me like 1.5 years to finish school. I was like, babe, do you mind holding it down for a couple months to knock this out? She's like, I don't mind, like, just, we're gonna be tight. And I said, that's fine. I'd rather be tight and knock it out and go full time to a barbershop. Yeah. And that's pretty much, long story short, into how I got into barbering.
Okay. No, I think that's awesome, dude. I mean, that's a.
Is it okay I put my hand in?
Yeah. That's a risk that, I mean, you took.
Yeah.
And I mean, thankfully your wife was there to kind of like get you to think outside the box on that.
I remember some days she would text me, hey, you can't eat out. Like, you can't even go to Jack in the Box. Like, our balance is pretty low. Yeah. I'm like, all right, got it. Like, and I remember at the barber school, if you did a service, you had to pay the service to the school. So if it was a haircut, it's $8. The school got the $8. Now, if the customer wanted to tip you anything, that was 100% yours. Okay. So I would live off tips. And some weeks I'd like, hey, I have $40 tips, my week's gone good. Let's go grab lunch Friday. And I'd have something to eat for Friday. If not, I'd be like, waiting to get home or pack my sandwich or something. Yeah. But yeah, I knocked it out in a total of 7 months. Okay. So yeah, I knocked out my
That's barber. A grind, though.
Yeah. It is. And that was towards the end, 9 to 9. So that school has morning classes and evening for, obviously, if you work full time. And I did 9 to 9. And I just like, man, I'm got to get out of this place. It's just going and going and going. And I need to start helping providing. We need to start working. Obviously, the wife's holding it down. And she was great. Shout out to my wife, Janie, that helped me get along to this barber career.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so you graduated. You opened up Founders.
Well, before that, I worked at a barbershop a year.
Okay.
2 barbershops. One kind of a couple months. It was a friend of mine that also used to cut my hair, and she's a barber. At Mend Hair Studio. They're still open. Went there a couple months. Didn't get much walk-in traffic, much, clientele potential, and it was far north from me. It was like Alliance North area, and I'm like, man, it's too far. I live in Burleson, you know, like I don't need to go all the way up here. So I went to a closer shop because I also, when I was envisioning, as soon as I finished barber school, I wanted to open the shop. I don't know where, when, how fast. That was my goal. And so I went to this barbershop in the area that I was thinking of opening. And I'm like, man, they beat me to the punch. But oh well, if they beat me to the punch, you know, if I can't beat them, join them. So I joined them. It was District Barbershop off Rosedale and Medical District.
Yeah.
And those two owners were great. I mean, that was a busy shop. That's where I kind of like, I would tell you, I learned my skills to do what I do now. Because I worked there a year, a little over a year. Got my clientele, and it was a busy shop. I mean, we were doing 75 cuts a week at that shop, and there were 6 of us, 6 barbers. And Tuesday through Saturday, just nonstop getting after it, and that kind of put my eyes open. Like, this is legit. This is a good industry. Like, there were some days it was just crazy, just how busy we were. But I'm like, man, I need to take this type of traditional barbershop to a different town. You know, to a town that doesn't untapped market. And so that's when the light bulb came on for Burleson. And yeah, and I was like, all right, well then, you know, after a year working there and got the experience, see how they ran some things. I liked some things they did. I didn't like some things they did, and I just kind of tailored it to what I would like it to be, and then took off from there. And that's where Founders started. That's
awesome. And I think one of the things I love seeing that you guys do anytime I walk into the shop, I mean, y'all are all talking to each other. I mean, it's not just dead silent, and got nice music playing and good atmosphere.
Yeah, so that's another thing. That first shop I went to, I always envisioned a barbershop like that. District Barbershop, we were a really close group. The 6 barbers, the 5 other barbers, myself, we were a close group. We would talk about sports, we would talk about news events, make fun of each other, you know, just goof around. It just felt like fun. And with the clients too, we would interact with them, and oh, here comes Matt, and Mustache Matt. I mean, we could have nicknamed you or something like that, you know. And we'd joke around with Matt and have fun with him, have a beer, we have coffee, water, make yourself comfortable, you know, just kind of a domain for a guy to feel just relaxed and like, all right, this is cool. I like hanging out with the guys. Like, I would come here just to hang out, you know. And I definitely wanted that atmosphere in my shop, but even more. And so, you know, that's why when you come to Founders, you get greeted, you know, how you doing? Do you have an appointment? Yes, all right, cool, we'll check you in. You want something to drink? You know, we have a little mini fridge. We have water, Sprite, beers, complimentary, and then we have a little, you know, whiskey bar if you want to grab something to drink.
Right.
But it's just to make the client feel relaxed. You just feel like, this is cool, I like this, you know.
No, it's a good experience when you walk in, because it's very relaxed. Always somebody there to talk to you. I mean, you don't feel unwanted.
Yeah. And I remember me going to a barbershop. I don't know if you ever experienced that. Going to a barbershop, you kind of like, if it was a new one, you would like tiptoe in there, look left, right, like, hey, I'll walk in. And they'd usually give you like a head nod or, I'll be with you in a second. That was the only greet you got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. You know, from going from a medical profession, I'm like, it has to be more professional. You know, we're licensed professionals. So what difference is that from my old job when a client would come to us, you know, and how you doing, Mr. Davis, can I get you anything to drink? I'll be with you here in a minute. What difference is that from then to now, you know? And so I wanted to bring that service to our customers, you know, like get greeted, make yourself feel good, make yourself feel comfortable. We'll beat you in a minute. And just by doing that and then getting them in the chair and wowing them with the experience, that was the second thing that we had to do as far as barbershops. But that was my whole demeanor. It's like, we have to bring that to this town. And Burleson's been great. I mean, Burleson's been one of my favorite towns. I, you know, bought my first house in Burleson, had my first kid and brought it home in Burleson, my first business in Burleson, and it's a community that will just hug and wrap around you and help you succeed. There's not many communities that do that. Fort Worth is not one that does that. It's growing bigger and bigger, and it's a small town feel still technically, but it's not like Burleson. Burleson's on a different level as far as like, I've asked a lot of business owners, like, do you regret opening in Burleson? Oh, I love Burleson. Like, I should have done this sooner. Burleson's been the spot since years ago, and I never did it. So Burleson definitely has some great community supporters, some great community followers that will help grow a business.
Yeah, and I mean, as a small business, we need that. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're there, and then anytime we would have an event or social media, they're always attentive, watching us, cheering us on, rooting us on, or if we had an event or something, they'd come through and support.
Yeah.
So that was always good to know that we had that support. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, so do y'all do a lot of community events? Like, what does that look like that y'all participate in?
Me as the owner, I try to do more community events. Sometimes it's hard to organize community events, but this past year we did one for local foster kids in Burleson and Tarrant County. We did a back to school, haircut things. I'm just drawing a blank. Her name is Chelsea. I don't exactly remember the portal she works for, but she is great because she gave us in contact, and we did some local things. Hope Local, there you go. It just came to me right now. Thank God.
Hope Local. Okay.
Hope Local is a nonprofit child organization that helps. It's a portal to help find families for these foster kids, and it was great to do that. We did an event with them to do boys and women's haircuts for back to school. To give them a confident look, a more nicer look. Some of these kids have never even been into a barbershop.
Yeah.
I grew up going to a barbershop. My dad took me to this old school barbershop back in the day, like Mansfield Highway, 3 old guys, smocked up all white and just really cool dudes, and, vintage Coca-Cola. And I remember just getting in touch with like some big old hands on my head and putting lather on me and shaving me up. And I thought that was a really cool experience. Like, you'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do for my little younger kid clientele. And I said, but there's some kids don't get that.
Right.
And so I told the barbers, like, hey, we're going to do back to school. Everyone was like, we're down. So we did a back to school drive for them. We collected water bottles and water container jugs for them. And we did boys and girls haircuts at our Fort Worth location. And we, some of these moms and foster parents were really appreciative. Like, thank you so much. This is the best. You made her year. She wanted that look, and this is great. We provided burgers, dogs, chips, snacks, drinks, everything, just to spoil them a little bit, and they love that. And we're gonna keep seeing what we can do, stuff like that, to outreach them. I mean, to me as a business owner, it's not just about business. It's in a barbershop. It's how do you support local? What do you do in your local area? And that's why I always try to tell owners, what do you do in the local area? Like, do you do anything? Do you like to do anything? Would you want to do something one day? Because to me, I'm like, what is good is you have a business 10 years, you never supported anything locally that helped somebody.
Yeah.
So they always used to say barbershops were like a staple in the neighborhood. And so I'm like, I still respect that. And so that's what I wanted to do, is bring that to some of the kids in need and some of the families in need. And we had a great event. Some foster parents couldn't make it through just for transportation devices. But I think just this coming year, we're going to just keep expanding it. Keep getting more people. People have reached out to us from that, like, hey, I work with CASA or work with this, nonprofit. We can bring bus loads if you want. And I'm like, wow, I know a lot of owners and barbers myself that if I can mass scale this to it, I will.
Yeah.
Like, it's just to help anybody. And some kids need confidence.
Yeah.
They need something, especially a foster kid, needs something to boost their energy, their demeanor, their mood for that year.
Yeah.
And if it's getting cut by a professional barber and like, man, I've always wanted that athlete's haircut and, I never asked for it because I don't get it. And then if we can do it and just make their day and they go to school happy, more confident, more eager, then I feel happy.
Right.
I don't have to get a penny or a dime for that because I feel like I did my job to complete something they were wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. We did that, and it was a great event. It was good. But we've done other local things. We've helped other local small business, start their business. And whether it's a food truck, hey, come through, Founders Barbershop, 12 to this time on this location, we're having vendor, this person.
Right.
Do some barbecue or doing this and that. And that's gotten me really contact with some of the communities in Burleson and Fort Worth that I'm like, oh, yeah, definitely, and kind of shout them out on our Instagram and give them some, some leeway for them in their business. And we try to do stuff like that.
And I think I think that's awesome. I mean, especially giving back and being involved with the community.
Mm-hmm.
That I think one of the things that I love that you said the best was when you brought it to your team, you're like, hey, you guys want to do this? And you said they were all down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that you can, it's not something you can make them do. You can't make them care.
Yeah.
So how do you build a team like that that care about, you know, giving back and being involved? And
so yeah, I mean, the only way I think I lead is by example. So if you want your team to do it, you got to do it. If you got to be friendly and greet everyone, your team is going to do the same thing. If you're going to open your heart to some people and to some barbers, which I have in my own shop, they'll see that. And I think is, like I said, the best way is leading by example. So treat everyone like the golden rule. Treat like you want to be treated. Even if it's a walk-in, even if it's a customer, even if it's a new person you never cut. I'm okay cutting anyone that I've never cut before because I want to know who they are, where they're from, what's going on, how'd you hear about us. I'm just curious to know that. And as soon as I know that, you know, and I find a common ground or something, I'll take it and run. And I tell the barbers that's what I implement, and that's why I retain some clientele and I have a lot of customers. I said, you guys need to do the same thing too. I said, there's some days that, just like anybody else, you know, there's hard days, ups and downs in life, but this is your safe haven. Like I love what I do. When we cut here, behind this, you know, chair in this little station, this is your office. And I always tell them, this is your office to do your job every day and to make someone feel better, to do just a little something. And I told my barbers, I got a, you know, record of 9-0 on interviews of getting jobs. Like, hey, I got an interview tomorrow. You lace me up. Hopefully I'll get it. And they've gotten the job. And I'm like, if I can do that, great. I'm doing my job. Or if it's a wedding, or if it's a whatever, you know, 40-year anniversary or vacation, and they want to look their best and feel the best where they're going, then I did my job. So that's what my barbers kind of fall into it, is we have to do it by any other owner by example. You can't practice and preach and say, just do this, let's do this, let's do that. But they don't see you do it, they won't fall in. So you have to lead it by example, in my opinion, and that's what I do. And I'm very a owner that wants to do everything together. Like, hey, we're going over here, you want to come? Or we're going to this brewery, let's all go to, you know, or just simply this past Sunday we did a tailgate at the barbershop. Like, hey, everybody come through, you know, wife and kids, you know, are all welcome. We'll buy more than food. We're going to have everything here. It's going to be a good time. And, you know, and I like doing things like that because that makes, obviously, our bond go stronger. Our, you know, team get a little bit more acquainted with each other. And, oh, man, your wife loved my wife. And they hit it off. They talked very well. And then you build relationships outside of work that will help strengthen that bond at the shop or at your workplace.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
So,
awesome.
you know, that's where I've kind of also came from too. My previous job where I worked in orthotics and prosthetic, he was very good about that stuff, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. So I follow a lot like him. Cut.
Yeah. They got it. Cool. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you're not just building community in Burleson, you're building community like within the shop.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the impact, I mean, and you even said it yourself, the previous owner, you experienced that and you're like, I want to do that. Like that community building is passing down, like people are going to remember.
Oh yeah, for
things
sure.
like that. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, as small business owners, I mean, it's tough already just staying in business, but to me, it's like, instead of doing, you know, you can do social media publicity and marketing publicity and this and that publicity, but the best publicity is like hidden publicity, if you ask me. Like if you do things behind the scenes, and I think that one day, you know, you'll get blessed tenfold for what you did, you know, whether it was helping foster kids or and not only that, I don't want to one day retire and walk away from barbering and be like, man, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have reached out more in the community, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I don't want to go away with that regret. So I'm like, if one day I decided, you know, I'm no longer going to cut hair, I'm no longer do that, I don't have no regrets. And that's what I want, to have those community outreach, community supports. And not only that, that will also bring business back to you. Like, oh yeah, Founders, remember we did a youth event there, well, what if that kid one day grows up and gets in high school and like, I remember you cut my hair when you're, and I've had some stories like that. You cut my hair when I was younger, and I love the haircut, you know. Now I'm this age now, I'm going to high school, I'm going to college. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I remember, you know. And I've been also sometimes in public, tapped on the shoulder and like, hey, how's it going? Oh, what's going on? And I'm like, who are you? I do not know who you are. And I just go along with it. Yeah, you cut my son's hair. Remember, he was so nervous. He was so this and that. And you just made him feel so comfortable and so great that he loved his haircut. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And in my head, I'm still not knowing who they are. I'm like, and then they'll show me, this is my son. Oh, yeah, I remember it now. Yeah. And I had an experience like that at Bowl Lounge at Fort Worth, you know, a couple months ago. And I was just like, I have no idea who this person is. But as soon as they show me the picture, I'm like, oh, yes, I do remember that. I do remember it. And he's like, the mom was like, he loved it. He still talks about your haircut. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's great. If I can do that, then that's awesome. But, you know, it's a good thing to get acquainted. And I'm a family guy, and I support anyone that has family. Like, shout out to all the family moms and dads trying to raise children just like you. It ain't easy, so if I can do anything to help their family situation, I'm always going to try to do that and help as best as I can. Whether it's like, you know, he wants his girl's hair out, I don't know, or hey, his self-confidence has been kind of low right now, or he's been bullying, that's cool, what do you do? I'm like, oh, don't worry, I got him. We'll make him look great, you know. Yeah. And I talk to my kids in the chair. You know, some barbers don't even like talking to their kids. I talk to my kids. What's going on? How was your day? How was you good? You know, so if one day they know, like, well, someone cared to hear about me, you know, someone cared to listen to what I had to say. And a lot of kids are shy at first. They're like, yeah, it's good, you know, I'm in sports. And I'm like, I constantly ask them questions. You know, are you on the baseball team? Do you play sports? Yeah, I'm T-ball. Oh, cool. What position are you? Like, oh, I'm this. Oh man, you must be fast. And I just get them going, and they're like, and they kind of cheer up, and they're like, do you have a favorite player? And they start asking me questions back. I'm like, yes. As soon as they start asking me questions back, I'm like, we're gonna be best friends forever, you know. And that's what I am. Like, I'm just the type that, like, I want to know who he is. Yeah. For if I ever see him in public, I remember I should cut his hair. I remember, like, one day if he's on TV, like, I remember him, you know, and stuff like that. And just I think that's something that barbers need to know more. There's a lot of young barbers coming in this industry, and they see it as, oh, this barber is cool. You make money, you make your own schedule, you do this and that. I'm like, yeah, you can, but it still goes back to having your clientele. Your clientele is your customer, your business, and you build a relationship with your clientele. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how it's gone so far, and I love every second of that part of it.
So, okay, so we'll shift it. So what's the hard side, the downside, the struggle, like, because that's there too.
Yeah, of owning a barbershop business. So that would be just the nature of the game. Like I was telling you, there's more barbers entering now. Social media and TikTok have created a huge uprising. Like, I want to be a barber now. Whether it's a tutorial or whether it's a reel of, you know, getting a real cool haircut, spinning them in the chair. Like, who doesn't want to do that? You know, who doesn't want to make something look so good? Like, man, that's awesome. So with that being, there's so many influx of barbers coming in, and there's other barbershops opening up and other barber suites and locations. So one of the challenging things has been of now owning almost 6 years of barbershop is you have ups and downs. So you have clientele coming in, you got full house, gets busy going, you know, you got barbers retaining clients, you got barbers there, and then, you know, one barber wants to leave. Okay, cool. And then another, you know, couple months, another barber wants to leave. So the turnover with barbers come and go. It's just the name of the game. Yeah. You know, some have moved, some have found a different city to live in, some have moved locations with their family. And so, and that's the thing about barbering. You have a license, you can go cut anywhere, literally. Yeah. Or you can go anywhere in the world and cut hair. So it's like there's no tie down. So that's the cool thing also about being a barber. But as a business owner is keeping those clientele retention. So what I've learned along the way is barbers come and go. That's learned and that's figured out. But how do I keep my business going with new client retention if I can get another barber, they just pick up where they left off. And so that's what I've created now, is just kind of a shop where we're established and busy enough that if I hire a new barber, they'll stay pretty steady enough to get their clientele retention and get going. And if one day, like 2 years, 3 years down the road, like, hey, I'm going to do my own thing, or hey, I'm moving, I'm like, all right, man, best of luck to you. I'll tell your clientele where you're at, what's going on, all this and that. And West wish the best for you. I can't talk today, but and they take their clientele and then all right, we'll put a post that we're hiring or we're looking for a new barber, and then before you know it, it's always coincidence when I have 1 or 2 barbers leave. It's just perfect timing. And hey, I just moved in from such and such. I'm looking for a barbershop, and I'm like, we're hiring.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hiring. Here we go. You know, and I've had more than 4 occasions that happen.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm like, right, we just had it busy. We just had our numbers great. We just had a good month, good year, and now I'm like down 3 barbers. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna stay patient a little bit. Don't freak out. And then now just coincidence, a lot of barbers like, hey, I am looking, or hey, I am in the area, or hey, I moved to this area. Are you hiring? And so, and that's great. That's great. So I just kind of plug and play. But that was the challenging part at first. How to discern that and how to not freak out about that. How to stay like, okay, it's all right. We're still having business. But anytime a new barber comes aboard or an old barber leaves, they just leaves room for more clientele to come in.
Okay.
So yeah, Burleson's growing. Burleson, Fort
yeah.
Worth communities are growing. There's an influx of people that are moving here. They're looking for a new barbershop. They're new to the area. They're new to the state. I found you guys on Instagram, on social media. I loved your work. Here I am. And so that's really, really worked out for us.
That's good. I mean, and that's good to kind of keep in mind. I mean, I don't think any small business is immune to that up and down influx, and just knowing that it's going to be okay. Don't freak out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's worked out in our benefit. It's worked out in perfect timing. You know, there's some things that as you learn, you would think, okay, well, now I won't do that again, or I'll do this, you know, going forward. Before, when I would lose a barber or 2, I was like, oh my gosh, we're not gonna make it. But I always told my wife, and my wife is an accountant, by the way, and she told me a good thing. She told me, she's a numbers person. So when we first opened Burleson, she's like, okay, this is how much rent's gonna be, this is how much our overhead's gonna be, this is how much, you know, to run a business. Let's see what you on your clientele can make per month. And so we put all our eggs in one basket into me. If I had no barbers, could I still keep the business going?
Okay.
And the answer was yes. It would be 2 weeks of my earnings going to the business,
right,
and 2 weeks of my earnings going to the family or to me. And I'm like, I can do that. If I have to do that, so that's another thing I recommend. Anyone that's starting a business, don't count on anybody but yourself.
Yeah.
If you can put yourself into say, I will not let this fail, I will make it succeed, it's gonna happen. But if you're like, well, we'll see how it goes. If I fail, I fail. You know, then you're already in your mind thinking it's not gonna work. In my head, I'm like, no, 2 weeks will go to paying what I need to. If that comes push to shove and last resort, I don't want that to happen. But if that happens, I can still stay afloat.
Yeah.
I count on you. So you're pretty much counting on yourself to make it happen, no matter what. Thankfully, that's never been the case.
Yeah.
Since day one, I've never had to rely on solely my own clientele to run a business. And I've had barbers, and when I first opened, I had 3 other barbers come along, and they stayed patient with me, and we grew and grew, and then like in 6 months, we hit the ground running and took off. Once word spread in Burleson like fire, Facebook's moms group reposted us, the Burleson moms reposted us, and it was just like fire. So, and here we are now, and I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to get there and get to that point. But yeah, that's the one thing I would tell is anyone starting a small business or own business is you got to count on yourself, only yourself, because no one else is going to help you. No one else is going to have any type of, like, oh yeah, you're struggling, let me go get some business for you. You're never going to find that person.
Right.
You have friends that will shout you out and stuff like that, and of course you want that support, but you're never going to have that direct, motivation unless it comes from you.
Yeah, nobody is going to care about it as much as you do.
There you go. No one's gonna care about it or do as much as you do.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it.
Yeah. So, is there any So you started the shop. Are there any skills that you had to like learn on the fly that you didn't think like, okay, I'm a barber, but you know, I had to learn how to do this in order to run the
Yeah,
business.
I mean, just even running the front desk.
Yeah.
And I've never done that. I never multitasked a job where I'm cutting hair, greeting people, sometimes answering phone calls, you know, talking to a client or something like that. And multitasking that, my wife's definitely helped me a lot on the accounting side, budgeting, you know, kind of overheads, kept me on this. I mean, the only reason my business has success is to my wife, because she helps me. She's a really great accountant that just keeps me in sync with the budget and what we got going on, what we got expense going on, this and that. So that's definitely helped me out. Learn that part of the business is how to budget a business, how to stay afloat, what you do need to buy, what you don't need to buy, what the barbers do need, what you don't need. You know, just vice versa, and just calculating essential stuff, and from there forward. So I guess I would just say, like, you know, I learned how to, you know, a receptionist role, a little bit of HR role, and a little bit of accounting role. And all three of those, and being a barber, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I always thought, man, you know, I'll just run the barbershops and that'll be it. I'm like, no, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we've done it. So, and we got a system down. It works. Everything's in place for a good reason. And yeah.
That's good.
Try to silence this thing. There we go.
You're all right. So, so if you did have, you know, Ben, you traveled back in time, you met with him for the first time, like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a barber shop. Like, what would you say to him to kind of make him aware, encourage him, like all that? Like, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, that's a pretty cool question. I never thought that far on it. Like, if I would go back in time and tell my younger self that, the only thing I would do is should have done it sooner. You know, like, hey, be the first one in Burleson.
Yeah.
You know, or be the first over here, or do this style in this way over here. You're going to hit big, and it's going to be great for the community. It's going to be great for some barbers. Because not only that, you also got to think about it. You know, it pays my bills and my family's bills, but I also have barbers that have responsibilities, that have families, that have kids, and that have everything I have. So I always want them to have what I have. See, I'm not greedy when it comes to, like, if my business is doing good and we're all, I'm gonna use a little bit of slang, we're all eating, they eat too. So I'm not the one, like, I get the bigger chunk and you guys get scraps. No, we all eat. We're all in this together. And I really like that part of it. But yeah, I just would tell myself that is, like, get ready. This concept will work. Do it this style, this place, this time, and do it quick.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I like that. Yeah. All right. Any like last bit of wisdom or encouragement you want to kind of give to small businesses or anything?
The only thing I recommend is, you know, there's ups and downs in business, and that's always going to be. And how to manage your business, your family, and your personal life is three separate things. But when you can do all three together successfully, put each one in its place at its time, you will see it succeed no matter what. Like, for example, if you put all your time and energy to your business, but no time to your family, no time to your kids, no time to your spouse, your business will succeed, no matter what. But how happy you're going to be if your business succeeds but your family fails.
Yeah.
You know, or if you invest all your time. So what I'm trying to say is just have an equal balance of everything, because everything with time. And that's the hardest thing of business, is being patient. Being patient to not get, man, this ain't working, this ain't happening, this ain't gonna make it. Time will tell you everything. And to be patient, and step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, follow a plan and regimen that's gonna work for your family, for your business, and for everybody. It's gonna happen no matter what. Yeah. Whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years. Like, looking back, it's like, man, we've been in business 6 years. It don't feel like that. But it's been already established. I dedicate a lot of time to the business, but I also try to focus a lot of time to my family. So have equal balance, so that way when you do come back to work, you're happy. Yeah. You're good. You're good spirit, you're good motivated, you're good and energized. versus being there 7 days a week, and then coming next morning, you're burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing I would say. Words of wisdom in owning a business, and if you're a family person, then that's what I recommend.
That's excellent advice. Like, I love that.
Yeah, and you know yourself.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
yourself.
You go home and you had been feeding into your family. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you lost the business tomorrow, you're gonna have them. So you might as well start investing in them now.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a business. Even your family's a business.
Yeah.
So how much time and are you investing there? And if you're investing anything, then what's your return on it?
Mm.
And same thing for a business. But if you, like I said, just have pretty proportional, equal balance of it, it'll succeed.
That's
It'll
awesome.
succeed, yeah.
Well, thank you, Ben, for coming,
Anytime.
sitting down and hanging out and sharing the wisdom. I love that.
Yeah.
Founders Barbershop. Check it out because it is an awesome place to be.
Awesome.